goes camping. Pete is excited to go camping. This is his first time. Don't forget your sleeping bag, says Dad. Or your hiking boots, Mom says. The campsite is deep in the woods. Mom and Dad set up the tent. Pete and Bob help collect sticks so they can make a fire ladder. Pete and Bob go for a hike. Bob shows Pete the footprints of different animals. Do you think we will see anything cool? Asked Pete. Maybe, says Bob. Pete and his dad go fishing. They must be very quiet to catch a fish. Fishing takes a long time. They finally catch some fish. Mom builds a fire. She cooks the fish for dinner. It tastes yummy. Next, Pete toasts marshmallows. Pete makes s'mores with chocolate and graham crackers. It starts to get dark out. Bob tells Pete a story about a scary, hairy giant. The giant lives in the woods. His name is Bigfoot. Do you think Bigfoot lives here? Asked Pete. No one has ever seen Bigfoot, says Bob. Don't let Bob scare you, says Dad. Bigfoot's not real, Mom says. Pete sighs with relief. But if he is real, I bet he's friendly, says Dad, and likes s'mores too. That's not scary, thinks Pete. Maybe he wants a s'more. Pete leaves one for his hairy friend. Soon it's time for bed. Lights out, boys, Dad says. Bob and Pete share a tent. Pete gets cozy into a sleeping bag. It's cozy, but he cannot sleep. The woods seem extra dark, and all the sounds seem extra loud at night. Pete hears a weird swishing sound. What's that? He asks Bob. Just the wind, says Bob. Pete hears an odd chirping noise. What's that? He asked out loud. Those are just the crickets. Pete hears a strange hooting sound. What's that? He wonders. That's just an owl. Pete thinks of his friend Owl. Pete hears a loud snapping sound. Crack! What is that? He wonders, but Bob is already fast asleep. Zzz. Pete listens carefully. Crack! Is it Bigfoot? Pete peeks outside. It's too dark to see anything. When Pete wakes up, he checks the spot where he left the s'more for Bigfoot. The s'more is gone. But there's a note. It says, thanks for the treat, XOXO. Pete shows his family. Wow, I knew Bigfoot was real, says Bob. Pete knows Bigfoot is not scary. Just because he looks different does not mean that he's scary. He even likes s'mores too. The end. What's your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Pete went hiking with Bob and they saw a cute little rabbit. Pete the Cat Scuba Cat by James Dean. Pete the Cat is excited. He's going scuba diving. Pete puts on a mask and fins. He has a tank full of air. He hopes to see lots of fish. If you're lucky, you might see a seahorse, says Captain Joe. A seahorse? Says Pete. I can't wait. I never saw one before. Their ridges look like horse mane, says Captain Joe. Groovy, says Pete. Pete jumps into the water. Splash! Down, down, down he goes. Up, up, up go the bubbles. Pete looks for a seahorse. He sees a swordfish. Pete swims out of its way. Pete waves to a stingray. It has a long, skinny tail. That's not a seahorse, thinks Pete. Pete looks high and low for the seahorse. Then he feels a tickle. Pete sees a school of fish. They all look alike, except for one. It puffs up. It's a blowfish. It is not a seahorse. Where could one be? Pete looks in the rocks. What's that? It's an octopus. It has 8 legs. It's not a seahorse. Look, this is a very purple octopus. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 legs. Pete feels a tickle. What could it be? Pete turns. He sees a cave. Is the seahorse inside? The seahorse is not inside. It's following him on every page. Is there a seahorse inside? Pete sees a crab with claws. And a seahorse doesn't have claws, Pete thinks. This cave is getting darker. Pete feels a tickle. Then Pete sees an eel. Pete swims past it. It's too long to be a seahorse. Oh no, it's too dark to see. How will Pete get out? Pete sees a jellyfish. It glows in the dark. Pete is almost out of a cave. Out of the cave, he sees an anglefish. It is very colorful. Pete is out of the cave. So why is it so dark? Pete is in a shadow. He's in the shadow of a whale. Yikes! Pete wishes he could jump on the seahorse and ride away. Pete hops on a sea turtle instead. It takes him to the boat. Pete did not see a seahorse. I did not see a seahorse, thinks Pete. He feels a tickle on his tail. A seahorse! Cries Pete. What a surprise! You were with me all along, says Pete. What a cool adventure! The end. What's your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where Pete the cat went into a cave and the jellyfish lighted his way through the cave. The jellyfishes look so yellow.